Welcome to How We Met. I'm Sheryl Strich, and every month I interview two couples from Laguna Woods who tell their story about how they met. Today up, we have Joe Meyer and Ed Foster. Both Joe and Ed are members of the Rainbow Club. They're both members of the Old Pros and Theater Guild. Joe's the performer, while Ed is the audience. Joe volunteers at Saddleback Hospital as a compassionate listener, and you may have seen him at the PAC where he occasionally ushers. Joe and Ed, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
You know, every month I ask the same 3 questions, so I'm very consistent. Where are you guys from?
I'm from New York originally.
Okay.
And I'm from a rural area of Indiana called Delaware County.
Okay. How long have you been a couple?
Well, we've been together 48 years, and in January it'll be 49.
You agree?
Yes, and we have been legally married for the last 11 years.
Nice. Okay. And last question, how long have you been in Laguna Woods?
12 years.
Yes, we moved here after I took an early retirement. We moved to our place in Palm Springs. And then when it was too hot in the summer and we got tired of RVing to get away, we found out about Laguna Woods and we moved.
So that's what you did? You lived in Palm Springs during the season and then
Yeah,
you
then we
RV'd?
would RV during the summertime. He couldn't take the heat so
Who
much.
could?
Yeah. We came out of a restaurant and the next thing I know, he's on the pavement and I'm standing.
Could never take the heat, believe it or not. Even as a child I couldn't, for some reason. I'd go pew, pew.
It's 100 degrees in Palm Springs.
I went out one morning, it was 123,
Gee.
and I went right back in.
You have to carry the dog.
Right.
Because they can't go on the pavement,
That's
it'll
right.
burn their paws.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into business.
Yes.
All right.
How did you meet?
Well, we met actually through friends. I was kind of busy in my career at that time, and I had very little time to go out and meet people.
What was your career?
I was working in a theater in New York City. I did the promotion for the theater. I was fortunate to be hired for that job, and it was the luckiest break I had had. And we met, and I said, I don't have time for this. He's not my type, blah, 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 blah. And so I just discounted it. And 2 weeks later, my phone rings at the theater, and he says, are you ever going to call me? And I said, who in the hell is this? I had no
Great
idea.
beginning.
Yeah. And so he said, let's go out. And I said, oh, okay. And we went out and had dinner, and we sat and talked for hours. He was nothing like I thought. And we've been together ever since.
And I don't want to give him a big head, but I knew immediately when I met him, I was attracted to him. So.
Hence he pursued.
2 different stories.
Yes.
And I just want to tell people at home, people who are watching this always see people on a couch, but because we have people with back issues, we thought the kindest thing to do would be to be on these chairs. Not our usual setup.
And it's appreciated, thank you.
Just in case we got in a fight, you could separate us.
Right, easily.
Very good.
So where did you end up? I mean, you were in New York, but
Well, we lived together in New York for possibly 11 years.
Something like that.
And at that point, I had already decided theater was not going to work for our life together.
did you ever perform?
Oh, yeah, on several different venues in New York.
Nice.
I was lucky.
Yeah.
Right place, right time. And then I decided I wanted to, the only other thing I ever wanted to do was be in the airline industry. And because the travel and the flying.
Oh.
And I went back to NYU and got certified in travel and tourism. And then I started in the airline business with Sir Freddie Laker back in the early days of travel to England.
I'm not familiar with that.
He had the first low-cost airline across the Atlantic. And so I was fortunate, and I worked there and became director of sales. And that led into careers in sales and other areas throughout the rest of my career.
So how long were you in the airline industry?
Until I retired.
So you got to travel a lot.
I traveled all the time.
Both of
because
you?
He couldn't.
Okay.
He was a school teacher.
Oh.
He had gone back to school
Yeah.
and became a teacher.
So I had a business degree, and then when we moved to Miami, I decided to get my teaching credentials, and I went and got my master's in education, and I taught for 20 years in an inner city school in Miami, and elementary school, and it was very rewarding. It really was.
What year was this?
Oh gosh,
Was
I'm
this
so
in the
bad with that.
60s or 70s?
Oh, no.
F70s into the 80s.
Okay. So
Yeah.
there was no problem in terms of people accepting you.
I was very fortunate. The parents were absolutely lovely to me. They protected me, actually, in the neighborhood. And I hate to say this, but all the other teachers had their cars broken into in the parking lot. No one ever did mine.
Nice.
Because, I think they knew that I was there for the good,
Yeah.
not just for the money.
Right.
And it was reflected in the way they treated me. It was very nice, very good feeling.
Right. So while you were in Miami teaching, you were
I
all
was
over
all
the
over the
world.
world.
Yeah, he was trotting all over the place.
I would call him from the Canary Islands or wherever I was at the time.
Was it for work or was it for
Yes,
pleasure?
I was director of sales for North America, so I had a global position, and we had our meetings all over the world. I worked for a global reservation system,
Got it.
and it was a conglomeration of Lufthansa, Air France, and Iberia. So our offices were in France, in Germany, and in Spain, but we were global.
Right.
So I had the North American operation of sales
Right,
under me,
right.
and each continent had their own group. It's the largest reservation system on the globe today.
So,
And when he would come home from his traveling, I would say to him, Joe, take off your director's hat. I'm not one of your employees.
Oh, I had a list for it.
I guess it was good you were traveling time off. That's always good.
We tried to always have time off together in the summer.
Right.
Sometimes, but that always didn't work out.
Oh yeah, because you had summer off.
But he taught during the summer many times.
Yeah, I did.
Because I was never
Since
there.
he was traveling,
Right.
so I did summer school.
Okay. Okay.
And he would say to me at times, because I would be talking to him and I'd say, you're not listening. And he'd say, all right, now you take off your teacher's hat.
So do you get any deals on traveling now?
I could, but it's such a nightmare to do it. We buy tickets.
Oh, you'd have to travel standby, wouldn't you?
Oh, well, I don't know. When I traveled for the company, I was always on positive space, airline positive space, which meant as long as there was no one with more money or seniority than you were on the flight. So I never had to worry about standby.
Okay.
And so when it came time to travel, thank God we could afford to travel,
Right.
so we did it
Right.
like anyone else would.
I tried to stand by once on his pass, and it was so nerve-wracking that it was like, this isn't for me.
I don't think it would be for me either. I want to know.
I want to know when
Right.
I'm going.
Just like I want to know where my seat is. Going on Southwest is a little nerve-wracking
I've
at
flown
times.
backwards on Southwest a few times.
But it works, so
Yeah.
it's cool. So what are you guys up to now? You're not traveling at all at this point.
No.
Joe, are you taking any trips?
I haven't. We've been together a very long time, and when one person is ill and can't travel, it would kind of break my heart to travel and come back and say, "Oh, guess what I did?"
Right.
So I pretty much stay in the area. I have the Theater Guild, Old Pros. I have all of these activities I do outside of our relationship. It's hard for me to leave him alone too much.
Actually, when you were on my show, Tales from the Woods.
Right.
I can't believe I couldn't remember the name of it. You guys went on a cruise.
Yes, well, cruises we do still, because,
Out of Long Beach,
Oh.
LA, because I can't fly anymore.
and he
Right.
can't really ride in a car much more than about 30
So-
minutes.
Right.
Yeah, we go in and back to LA.
So whatever they offer out of LA, we try
Well,
to
the
take
cruise is
advantage
perfect
of.
because when I don't feel well, I
Right.
could stay in the room.
Right.
And other than that, I don't, I enjoy it.
Right. Right.
The little that I can do.
And I love sitting on the deck reading, so that works.
Are you still involved? You are still involved with Saddleback, right?
Yes, I still take classes at Saddleback, and I volunteer
At the
hospital.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. A funny thing, we were talking about it before, was when you saw one of the actors on Tales from the Woods.
Yes.
When you were working, you stopped in, and there she is, all stroked out.
She did have a stroke.
And there you are.
And 1 month later, I had one. So it was like we were relatives in strokes at that point.
We were a little concerned that who else was it going to hit on Tales from the Woods?
That's when I broke my ankle, if you remember, and I had the boot on, and you would hide my
Right.
boot.
Right. I had to do all kinds of things to protect your boot so nobody could see it. The funny things we have to do when we're in charge of something,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Well, listen, guys, it's really been a pleasure having you on.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for coming on. I get a kick out of you all the time.
He can't kick anymore, so I don't have to deal
So
with
I'm
that.
fortunate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next couple up are Bob Briblett and Nikki Thompson. Bob is usually on two wheels, either bicycles or motorcycles. When he's not playing pickleball, he's working in their community garden, surfing at San Onofre, or working on his bikes or his rental properties. Nikki's one of the original members of the Pickleball Club. She's the club secretary and also teaches Introduction to Pickleball. Full disclosure, we play with and against each other every Friday morning. When she's not playing pickleball, you can find her in their community garden, or else she's playing mahjong or some other type of card game. And plus, she makes a mean chocolate chip cookie. Bob and Nikki, welcome.
Thank you.
I didn't know what I was going to say.
I did not. She didn't get my stuff or my information for my introduction, so she made it up.
That's true. I
Did a great
make up
job.
everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's start with my three questions. Where are you from?
I'm from Long Beach, not too far away, LA County. I had to get shots when I go back, but
And I'm from Nebraska. Started out on a farm with an outhouse and little tiny community called Surprise, which if you went through it, you had a surprise that you missed it. And I've been here for over 50 years in California.
And I understand what brought you here.
The Marines, yeah. I wanted to get out of Nebraska and I wanted to be close to the ocean. And the Marines have two places, either the East Coast or the West Coast, and I was lucky to end up in San Diego.
I know we're digressing, but what year did you sign up for the Marines?
1968 through 71, and I was very fortunate. I did not go to Vietnam. I stayed at Camp Pendleton and started going to college, actually off base, so worked out good.
I learned how to fly.
And I learned how to fly, yeah, at Palomar Airport. I got my private license and started surfing.
So I guess the Marines were very good to you.
I would not complain about what they did, yeah.
Okay, my next question. How long have you been a couple?
Well, it depends on who you ask.
About 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah, thereabouts. We don't remember exactly. We're not good with dates or special occasions.
But we celebrate every day.
Every day. Every day.
How long have you been in Laguna Woods?
Well, let's see. I've been here longer than you? Okay. I think I've been here about 16, maybe even 17 years, but not full time. I first found out about the woods when I was dog sitting for a coworker that lived here. And then I've been here off and on ever since then. But I took care of my dad in Long Beach for 7 years. So for 7 years, I was back and forth. So full time, I don't know, A long time. Long enough to know I don't ever want to live anyplace else.
How about you?
I first bought here in 2001, thinking I would get my mother in Nebraska to move out here, but I couldn't even get her to come look at it. And so I had been renting, and then when I got a divorce, I needed a place to live, so that's when I moved here, about 2007.
Okay. And so you've been here ever since?
Yes.
You didn't go back and forth?
No.
Okay.
Well, once in a while. When I was invited.
Okay, let's get to the nitty-gritty. How did you meet?
Well, I was on a covert mission for the CIA in the Amazon jungle when my position was compromised by a double agent. I was being pursued by a bloodthirsty gang of guerrillas and running for my life, and all of a sudden this guy, this super guy, just swoops down, grabs me. This was many years ago.
I'm glad I didn't give you a lot of time to prepare for this. I'm glad it was only a couple of days, because God knows what kind of story I would have gotten.
Thanks, Tricia. This was Tricia's idea. So this guy swoops down, grabs me many years, at least 20 pounds ago, hauls me up into the trees and saves my life. I would not be sitting here if it wasn't for, oh God, that wasn't you. Oh, wait, I know. It was the fireman from the burning high-rise.
The
That's it,
fireman.
oh, okay.
Okay, Bob, what's your version?
Yeah, you tell this story, I'll just interrupt as necessary.
I was out in front of my condo, washing my motorcycle, and this cute gal walks by, and as she's walking by, she turns and she says, "If you ever want a passenger, I have my own helmet, and it's blue, just like your motorcycle." And I go, "Wow, these Laguna women are pretty forward."
I never stopped. I just said it and I just kept walking.
Yeah.
So
And then I
that's the
took
real,
off on a motorcycle.
That's the real story.
That's the real story.
Yeah, that's the real
That's the real story. A previous boyfriend, I've been single, happily single for many, many years, so I can tend to get confused with my stories. But anyway, this was right. A previous boyfriend had given me this blue helmet, didn't match anything at the time. 2 years later, I'm walking down the street and this guy's washing a blue motorcycle. So I said that. I just kept walking. 2 weeks later, he was on the bike going this way. I was out on a walk going this way. He turned around, followed me home, which any place but here would have terrified me. But, it's pretty safe here. And we stood at the door and talked for several minutes. He took my phone number, and I didn't hear a word from him for 7 weeks.
I took off on a motorcycle trip with a bunch of guys for, 5,000 miles.
Seriously.
And so I didn't get around to it,
But you kept her number.
but I kept her number. And then I called her finally.
How
It was-
long after you got home did you call her?
Yeah, I
That's a
don't know.
good question. I'm not sure.
And I don't know either. I don't know.
But I do remember it was a Saturday morning,
Yep.
and I said, "Well, do you want to go for a ride?" And she said, "Yeah, when?" And I said, "How about a half an hour?"
And I said, sure, because I don't care.
And we started doing that, and I took her over 100 miles an hour, and she loved it. And our longest trip was 2,000 miles together. We went up to see a friend of mine in Oregon and had a great time. And one day we had 400 miles on and off rain coming out of Oregon. And I could tell when she would fall asleep because she would interlock her hands around my chest.
I fall asleep on the back, especially after I've eaten.
Yeah, after lunch. And I could tell when she was asleep because her helmet would start bouncing on my back. But she never fell off.
No, it's pretty hard to fall off a motorcycle, really.
Have you ever changed your helmet, or is this the helmet you've always had?
I actually did. In fact, after that first ride with him, because my original helmet was just 3/4 helmet, and after that first ride, he said, "Nope, you're getting a full-faced helmet. You dress for the crash." So he got me a full-faced helmet, and I've had a few since then.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
so it's
what's your head worth?
Yeah, right.
Full disclosure, we went on a trip to Paso Robles, and Nikki and Bob rode a motorcycle, and I was just wondering if the helmet she wore then
Yeah.
is the same.
No.
And neither was it the same motorcycle, but it was a
Similar.
a duplicate
Yeah.
of a replica. No, it was the newer version of the original motorcycle, still blue.
So
Yeah,
when did you
still-
guys realize that you were both into gardening?
Well, I had been sharing a garden plot And then Nikki found out, and she said, well, I want a garden too. And so then we got our own garden plot.
We were on the waiting list for 4 years. We were sharecroppers for 4 years, and then we got our own plot. And luckily, we both enjoy it because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of
In
work.
fact, I have a sign in my little place that says, I thought I was retired until I planted a garden.
It's like owning a boat.
Yeah, very similar.
It is. It's a lot of work, but it's very, for us, luckily, we both enjoy being in the garden. It's quite a respite from the rest of the world.
During the pandemic, it was really nice.
Someplace you
because-
could go. Our garden is totally enclosed, so we could be there without, being close to anybody. And now we supply $100 tomatoes to our friends.
Yeah. And
To
they're
all of
very
our
good.
friends.
We had a terrible year this year, just awful tomato year. But
So you guys are some of the original pickleball club members. How did you get into that?
We were on
yeah.
a tandem bicycle.
we had a tandem recumbent.
Yeah, which you sit in a comfortable chair with a full windshield, and we were on the bike path that goes right past the pickleball courts. And we saw this, and we said, wow, what's that? We got to find out.
Well, we saw the sign that said pickleball, and like everybody else in those days, what's pickleball?
When was
pickleball?
those days? When were we talking?
2011?
2012.
Okay.
And then I actually had gone back up to Long Beach to my dad, and he stopped at the courts and tried it out. And the next time I came down, he said, "You got to try this." And it was love from the very first shot. I actually was shown how to play the game by Mary and Dale Rayner, who brought pickleball to Laguna Woods.
Right.
They gave me my first paddle, and yeah, it's just been fun. We were not in the founding group. I think there was originally 38 or 40 people.
You were the next-
we were the
the
second
next
level,
generation.
next generation.
Yes.
When you literally knew everybody in the club, it was a great time.
Right. And now the club has over
Almost
600.
600, yes.
Almost 600
almost
people.
or over.
Right.
I don't know, because it
Right.
changes so quickly every
Right.
week.
Right, right.
And yeah, we're still riding the blue motorcycle.
Yep.
Is that motorcycle still part of your repertoire, or you've moved on with others?
Well, we've moved on to newer versions of the same motorcycles.
bike, the FJR 1300.
Yeah, the Yamaha FJR 1300. It's we call it the old man sport bike. It'll do 155.
Hey, I have a question, because I know what I'm like on the back of a tandem. Do you pedal if you're on the back of the tandem?
On the tandem recumbent, and I assume this is true on any tandem, you don't have a choice. Your pedals are going to go around.
Oh, they just go around.
They go around. So my feet are going around, but I'm sitting back there reading because I have absolutely no ability to steer the bike.
Right.
I do have a brake, I think, for
You did have a
emergencies.
brake, yeah.
But yeah, I just sit back there reading, and it's.
So are you doing all the work with an extra person on?
No, not all the
Well,
work.
most of the work.
When we're going up a hill, particularly.
I will.
She has to help.
Do you ever make her get off?
No, I think the only time I remember having her get off was when we were going up a dirt road on the motorcycle. And I think I asked her to get off so we wouldn't have an accident.
He was afraid it would. Yeah.
Because it was a little scary.
Yeah. The only time I've ever been
Ejected.
ejected was not with him. It was with somebody else on gravel. So gravel or
Yeah.
loose dirt kind of scares me on the bike.
Well, it would scare me too.
Yeah.
I got to say, there's no way I'm going to get on the back of a motorcycle these days. I did it once.
Well, I've ridden over 350,000 miles, so hopefully I know what I'm doing.
Well, no, and I appreciate that.
But I wouldn't get on a motorcycle with anybody that, is
Isn't
a
very
weekend warrior that once
yeah,
in a while they go,
Is a wannabe.
that's scary.
Plus, I've told him, and all my friends know this, if we're in an accident, he is to drag his bloodied body over to me and make sure I'm dead. I can handle dead. I won't know.
Oh, that's a good ending to
Yeah.
this segment.
Yeah.
Do you think we should end it on that?
I just got the 2-minute warning 2 minutes ago, so thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, we're just getting warmed up.
Thanks so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys. I can't wait till the next time. If you'd like to come on to the show, email us at lwvcouples@gmail.com. gmail.com. Include your name, phone number, and email address, and brief description of your story.